Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 3 of the Gobbler Effect on the Virginia Tech Hockey YouTube channel. I'm Chris Pierce, joined alongside by assistant head coach Dave Standley. Not Joey Mullen this week. We have a new face in there. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you, Chris?
I'm doing great. Excited for another week of talking Virginia Tech hockey. Dave, assistant coach, as also the founding member of the VT Hockey Club. I just got to ask, well, going back, what was the process like having getting this club to be even formed?
It's funny. There were a bunch of us, a few of us out on the duck pond playing hockey one day, and transplanted New Englanders, and we all kind of got laughing about, we really need a serious place to play. And we saw each other probably a week or two later and said the same thing. And the third time somebody said, it was like, maybe we should start a club. And then one of the guys kind of glommed onto that and grabbed the application from the university and actually filled it out, and we sent it in. And as with anything at a large university, it took a little time to get the paperwork done. So we started that in the fall of '84, and by the spring of '85, we'd been approved as a club sport and started scheduling for our first season, which was the fall of 1985.
Yeah. I don't want to go into all that like backstory. I'm pretty sure folks can just look that up. Back in your glory days, I'm sure. um, and you've seen from when it first started to where we're at now. What I'm going to ask you, what was your significant moment as part of this team so far, and what do you hope to see with this team on in the future?
So there were a couple of significant moments. It's kind of hard to differentiate which one's the most important one. When Coach Spradlin came in, he kind of set the foundation for the program as it exists today. He developed the program into a consistent winning fixture in the ACC. The first time that Virginia Tech was in the ACC. And we won back-to-back league championships with him at the helm. I would say the next real transition after Coach Mullen took over, back-to-back appearances finally at the Southeast Regional Tournament. Between rankings and improving our strength of schedule, we got to the tournament, and also winning the mock championship, the league we had migrated to after the ACC, propelled us into our kind of first appearance at the ACHA D2 National Championship Tournament. And that opened a lot of doors for us. The next year, everybody at the tournament expected us to go 0-3 and finish 16th. We actually finished 12th in the nation. So we surprised a couple of people with our ability there, and it opened the door for us. We got invited to a couple of showcase tournaments the following year. We had an increase in interest in incoming students, and that group of seniors that kind of graduated through really opened the door. And if you look at where we get kids from today, we're all over the place, mostly up and down the East Coast, the Jersey, Philly, Massachusetts kind of corridor has been really good to us and provides kind of the foundation for the people we have on the team now.
Yeah. And you just mentioned about the players and where they come from. One of my questions actually for you guys was what is the recruiting process like for you guys? I know Joey touched on it a little bit last week's episode. What is the recruiting process like for you guys, and how does it compare to like the NCAA or anything like that?
So we have a registration link on our website for incoming athletes who wish to play hockey to at least register an interest with us. When that interest is registered, both Joey and I, as well as our GM, get an email out of the portal. We will then follow up with the candidate and try to get out and see a game or two if it's geographically possible, given our schedule and their schedules. We have a bit of an advantage like that in that with Joe being centered out of the Vinton area and I being centered out of basically the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C. area, we can cover a larger geographic area to actually physically see people. And we've done that when we've been away weekends at tournaments or even at other games. If there's a local game being played where we have someone that's expressed an interest, we'll hop over in the afternoon to see it. So it's very how it fits into our schedule. And the difference between that and, in a varsity team would be they have a organized and structured recruiting method. They've got a schedule for it. They schedule visits, and we're trying to fit things in between practices, between games, and between traveling. Where we can't physically see somebody in person, we will ask them to send us a link where their games are streamed online, much like you guys do for us and our games. We'll get to watch them that way. We can provide them some feedback and some things to think about and look at for their development going forward, and then invite them down to the prospect skate for us, which is usually April of the year prior to their admission. But we truly, despite all of those efforts, we truly don't know for sure who's going to show up until the fall when everybody gets in, because some people who have great grades and everything else never get accepted or never come off a wait list at Virginia Tech. And while we can actively encourage people to look at Virginia Tech, we cannot in any way help them from an admissions process. They have to get in all on their own, qualify on their own from a grades perspective, and then try out for the team and make the team. And then we have some input over that process and how they play going forward.
Well, I mean, that kind of like diminishes my next question is like how competitive it is out there to recruit players. I know you mentioned how they have to get accepted into the university first before they actually try out for the team or anything like that. Is there like even like a competitive race between teams on a player? Have you been in that instance before? Anything
Oh,
like that?
absolutely. We've had in the last 3 years, we have played games against 9 of our opponents who have had 8 to 11 players whose first preference was Virginia Tech, who were waitlisted and never made it off the wait list to get into Virginia Tech. Some of them had more than 4.0 averages coming out of high school and still didn't get in. So our league is very competitive, but we have a wide range of universities and academic standards to get into those universities. And sometimes Tech or even the folks down in Chapel Hill will lose a candidate because of their admission standards that gets into one of the others, and then we get the pleasure of playing against them for the next 4 years. So that's just the way club sports are and the way that process works, and there's not much we can do about it other than my message to incoming students when they're sophomores and juniors is really the best thing you can focus on is being the best student academically that you can, because it'll best prepare you for what comes next.
And I know you mentioned it. There's no leeway at all that the university would be like bending the rules kind of, and saying, oh, if you want to play for the hockey team, you can just allow like a little.
I know that Coach Mullen and I would both love to have that kind of influence, because there's a couple of folks we would truly like to have, but no, they from when you're a club sport, you're a student-run organization. To be a member of a club at Virginia Tech, you have to be a student. So you have to get in and become a student first, then you can participate. We can't help that process in any fashion.
Yeah, just to make it a little more understandable for the folks at home who are just wondering all that. Now moving on, we're going to move on to last weekend before we get into this weekend, a very important weekend coming up. But let's first get into last weekend. You guys at home, sweeping the weekend against the Stevenson Mustangs. I'm just going to start with the positives. Actually, no, let's start with the negatives. Let's get that out of the way first. I mean, you guys won both games, 13 combined goals scored in those 2 games. I mean, out of that, what can you say that the team needs to improve on?
Um, I think we need to do it. So Stevenson's a solid opponent. They are working on building their program back up after being kind of out of business for a couple of years post COVID. So we did things against them well, that we focused on trying to do well. We worked on our structure, we worked on our specialty teams units, and we had some success. But you asked me to talk about the negatives first. I think we were a little lax at times in the structure that we were trying to execute and how we executed it. We gave up far too many shots on goal, especially in the Saturday game. We were better in the Friday game, I think, at limiting chances and keeping everything to the outside. The Saturday game, I think our structure broke down a little bit. Our spacing was a little weaker than it was on Friday, and it opened up opportunities for them to get shots. Luckily, both evenings we had good efforts from both of our goalies, one on Friday and one on Saturday, Ian and Shane, and they helped us when we did make mistakes or when we did have a breakdown, make sure that the puck didn't wind up in the back of our net for the most part. So if we can clean those things up this coming weekend, and we can do it against teams that have already gone through that growth and maturation process. So we're going to see a step up in physicality. We're going to see a step up in pace, and we're going to have to be able to execute our game plan despite those challenges if we're going to be successful this coming weekend.
Okay. And with the negative out of the way, let's get straight to the positive. You guys, offensive explosion. You guys, 13 goals. That's the most you guys scored in a 2-game span since last September, opening weekend. I mean, what went well for you guys?
The guys were moving their feet. A lot of times you wind up having a group of guys, and especially when you're down to the second, third, or even the fourth lines, where they'll watch a little bit and they'll get caught up by what's happening on the ice. And to align, everybody really worked hard. They moved their feet, they put shots at the net, they drove the net, looked for rebounds, and then, to be blunt, we actually had some success on our specialty teams unit. And that's something, as you know, we've been struggling with this year. We work hard to earn power play time, and then we struggle to put the puck in the net. We've generated chances, we just struggle to finish. And we saw some of that come together much better this past weekend. So we're hoping to continue to build on that success here going forward.
And I know that I've talked to Joey, I talked to some of the guys on the team. It seems like the one word that keeps on being tossed around, especially in this early part of the season, is the word inconsistent when it comes to playing. And I just want to know, with now these 2 wins and this momentum now shifting towards on your side, do you think you guys have finally found the right rhythm at this point in the season to keep your foot on the gas and potentially keep on going all the way to February?
I'll say I hope so. I guess that's probably what the answer any coach is going to give you. I would actually go back our road trip 2 weekends ago, our road trip to Kentucky for the tournament out there. We played 3 of the best games back to back to back that we have played in a long time as a group. Our structure was good. We executed very well, and we lost 3 one-goal games to 3 very good teams out of the TSCHL. So coming back here to see us bring that same game, not quite the level of intensity, and that's something we have to learn as a very young team. You can't play to the opponent. You need to play your best every night. And a young team sometimes struggles with that. I think we saw it early in the year. We'd play good on Friday, and Saturday we would get a completely different result out of mostly the same team. So the weekend out in Kentucky, I think the team kind of bonded a little around what we wanted to do and how we wanted to do it. We came back home against Stevenson and executed that game plan for the most part for 2 games. And if we're going to be successful and continue as you just asked, we have to continue to execute that same game plan here going forward, all the way through to February.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna add on top of that. Do you think the team has what it takes to make it far into February? Do you think they have the talent?
I definitely think that this team is one of the most talented we've had here at Virginia Tech. It's going to come down to consistency and work ethic. Those are the two things that'll determine whether or not their talent will get them through. Um, we have a saying in the locker room that hard work will beat talent when talent doesn't work hard. And for a long time, that was our staple at Virginia Tech. We weren't as talented as some of the teams we were playing, even when we made that run to nationals, but we outworked people. We never got outworked. And this team has arguably more talent across the team from top to bottom, but they don't have that same consistent work ethic yet. And if they get it and it sticks with them and they execute like they're capable of, it could be a very special run through the rest of the regular season and into the postseason.
Yeah, for sure. Well, switching topics now to this weekend, you guys got the ACC Fall Classic tournament coming up. You guys are playing Ryder on Friday, Rowan on Saturday, Maryland on Sunday. We're just going to take it game by game here, starting with Ryder on Friday. You guys, foes back in the MAC days, now playing for the first time in the ACC Premier League. How do you guys plan on starting things off on the right foot against this Ryder team who's actually been pretty good? 11 wins on the season coming into this one.
So the good news is we know these teams. We've seen them before, as you said. We've got common opponents that have played them that we've been able to look at film against and see how those games went. The biggest challenge we're going to have on Friday, and I think any team has this challenge, after a long bus ride, you need to get off the bus and be ready to play from minute one. So the challenge Friday will be, can we execute what we want to do from that opening whistle in the first period on Friday afternoon? A 5:15 start means they're going to have probably left campus on the bus mid-morning to get up there in time, given traffic and everything. So none of the normal schedules are going to fit right. We're on the ice 2 hours earlier than we're normally on the ice. And these are all things you have to adjust in a multi-day tournament environment. So if they prepare right and warm up right, get their minds right, and come out in that first period, and of course execute the way we want to, I think we'll be okay with our game on Friday. Moving to Rowan on Saturday, this will be the longest break we have on the weekend between two games. So we'll have 26 hours from opening puck drops between Friday and Saturday. And in a tournament schedule like this, that's actually a nice long break. Usually you wind up with one back-to-back set where you're in a 16 to 18 hour window. So they'll have plenty of time to rest, rehydrate, get fueled up. And then the game with Rowan will come down to simply our execution. Two very similar teams. They've got a solid back end, solid goalie. We're going to have to put consistent pressure on. We're going to have to be structured in our defensive responsibilities and make sure that we don't let their big guns have much space or much time on the ice in order to take away their capabilities. And then Maryland on Sunday will be back again on we'll be on a shorter break because we're back to 5 p.m. Sunday afternoon. They're a well-coached team. They're a solid team. They work hard, a lot like Virginia Tech. So we're going to see kind of an image and likeness of ourselves. And I think the team that executes the best and maintains their structure on Sunday afternoon, it'll be the third game in 3 days for both teams. So how we use the extra players that we'll bring with us this weekend, how we keep everybody fresh for that third game on Sunday, will go a long ways towards determining the outcome on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, that's all I got. Do you have any closing statements on possibly this weekend? What do you expect? What are you hopeful for? Anything like that?
We always try to look forward one game at a time. So in an ideal world, what we'd love to see is that we win a game 3 separate days coming forward, and that we come home with three important league wins, and that's really the focus for this weekend. These are league games for us. They are our crossover games against the teams from the Northern Division in the Premier. It's not like we can afford a down game. We really need to bring our best each night, and if we can execute what we want to do and come home with 3-1 games, then I think we'll be in good shape for rolling through the rest of the fall semester, and then getting a quick start on things when we come back after the holidays.
Thanks, Coach, for the talk. If you got nothing else you want to add, anything?
I appreciate all you guys do in broadcasting our stuff, Chris, very much. Thank you, and look forward to seeing you here soon.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dave, good luck this weekend. Hoping pulling for the best for the Hokies. They are away this weekend. Got 3 games coming up in the ACC Fall Classic Tournament. I'm Chris Pierce. That's Dave Standley. Thank you again for hopping on and taking your time for this show. We'll be back for episode 4 in 2 weeks' time. With that being said, thank you for watching the Gobbler Effect. See you next time. Good night.
Night.